everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and this is Patron Hangout number 125. And as I get started, because there's just a whole bunch of weird stuff, and I'm going to get to as much of it as I can, but I just want to make sure you can all see and hear me, because on my last show, something went wrong, and everybody's like, so I just want to make sure that I'm not going to have to edit this, and because I don't want to. So I'm just checking in. Somebody's asking. I've been asked to sing because I'm now going. I joined a chorus, and I've never sang in my life, so I'm singing in this chorus now. And luckily, there's a lot of people, so maybe they can't hear me. So what was it, Sarah? You said you wanted me to sing "Over the Rainbow." I bow to Iz, the great Hawaiian singer. There's nobody can beat Iz. If you've never heard Iz, go to Google, go to YouTube and put in "Somewhere Over the Rainbow" and Iz, and I try to pronounce his last name, but I'm probably going to do badly. So, but I'm going to try. His last name is, okay, hold on a second. I got to pull it up here. What is going wrong here? Okay, what? His last name, it's Israel Kamaka. Okay, wait a minute. Israel Kamakawiwo'ole. Something like that. This was one of the most beautiful voices ever in the world. And unfortunately, he has passed away. But, oh my God. No, I will never even get near singing that rendition of Over the Rainbow. So, no, not even going to try. Can you all hear me, though? My wife would agree. Absolutely. And she has a lovely voice. By the way, she's got a fabulous voice. She might give him a run for the money. You can see me and you can hear me. Okay, cool. I want to welcome everybody who's in the chat room. I've said hello to most people. Still people are coming in. Sylvain has just come in. And who else has just rolled in? Jill's just rolled in. I said hello to most people. Stefanica. Anyway, if I've missed you, sorry. Welcome. This is Hangout number 125. And I would like to say, if you'd like to be in the chat room, joining in, please do click on the link below. There you will find Patreon, $5 a month. You support an educational channel. You can come to 8 live shows per month, 2 every week. One is a hangout and one is the case show about some case. You can also join in the community and communicate with each other and with me and suggest lots of things. And if you don't want to do that, all my shows are public. Once I finish the live show, about a week later, it goes public. And so everybody can see my shows. And if you're doing that, please do at least subscribe to the channel. Makes a big difference in the algorithm, which is a mean thing that YouTube employs. So subscribe to the channel, like the videos, and also click the bell for notifications. And if you want a specific you're really interested in one case, you wonder if I've done it, please go to the search engine on YouTube and put in Profiler Pat Brown and whatever case you're interested in. Alrighty then. Let's go. All right. What do I want to talk about? There's a whole bunch of stuff you've asked me about and I've also seen. Let me start with Kenneth Smith. I'm going to make a quick commentary on this just because I'm always kind of amazed and the commentary I'm going to make on this guy, let's see, I'll find the dude. Where is he? Okay. Again, the pictures are really small. Where'd the guy go, man? I'm starting out the show and I already cannot find the fellow. Where did he go? All right. He's a guy. He's being executed and I can't find his picture. Oh, well, that's my shows for you. Anyway, his name is Kenneth Smith. Now, what's interesting about this is let me find my... Now let me find my information about him. Here we go. His name is Kenneth Eugene Smith, and he was part of a duo hit team that brutally killed a woman brutally. Got convicted. There was no question he was there and did it. Okay? Now, he's on Alabama death row, and it says here, an Alabama death row inmate is expected to become the first person in the U.S. to be executed with nitrogen gas after losing last-minute appeals. The U.S. Supreme Court and the lower appeals court declined to block what Kenneth Eugene Smith, the lawyer, has called a cruel and unusual punishment. Opponents say using nitrogen could cause unnecessary suffering. Much more suffering than what the woman he brutally killed suffered. But okay. Unnecessary suffering, and a leak could harm people present in the room. Smith, 58, was convicted in 1989 of murdering Elizabeth Sennett. Okay. Here's what I just don't get. All right. Now, if you're against the death penalty, I don't have an issue with that. A lot of people are against the death penalty because they just think, to actually, for even if the guy's guilty as heck, that we as people who are supposed to be not criminals, then take somebody's life. It's too difficult for us to comprehend, or it shouldn't happen, or it's just not the way things should work. So he should go away for life. And if he happens to be innocent, well, once you kill him, he can't prove he's, if he proved he's innocent too late, or somebody else did, he can't do it. If at least he were alive, he might get out of prison. The Innocence Project is big on that. Now, I'm not getting into the argument over the death penalty here, and please don't go there, because this is not a political channel, so I don't want to talk about that. But what makes me just kind of blows me away is this. We have medically assisted suicides in many countries. Again, not saying whether I'm for or against them, but nobody complains about the methodology used to kill people. These are people who say, hey, I have some terminal disease, I'm suffering terribly, and please let me go into some kind of chamber or whatever and peacefully take me out. People sign up for this. Nobody argues. People take their pets in to be euthanized, and they stand there and they pet them on the head, and the doctor euthanizes them, and usually the doggy goes, whatever. And the odd thing is nobody seems to argue against that. So I cannot understand how, when we got a murderer, they can't find one way that is, quote, acceptable to kill him. I mean, there's quite a few ways to die peacefully or quickly. I hate to say it, but a bullet to the back of the head works really well. It may not be pretty, but you're out in an instant. You don't feel anything. You just like, that's it. There's so many ways to die peacefully. And yet it seems like when it comes down to killing murderers, no one can ever find a way to do it nicely. Okay, regular people, sure. Pets, yeah, absolutely. But murderers, there's no nice way to do them in. I just find that I'm like, how is this possible? There's not one method that a person can die peacefully. And I also know that, for example, when people are in hospice and they're suffering from really difficult, horrifying kinds of diseases where they're having trouble breathing and they're in pain, they're usually given enough drugs to basically slumber off into, which is pretty much unconsciousness, and then eventually pass away. They don't seem to be suffering at that point. Hey, killer dudes, can we use that on them? Again, this is not a discussion of the death penalty. I just find this amusing that it's like, how come they can never come up with a nice way to kill killers? I just find that amusing. I don't know. Yes, you have death with dignity laws in Oregon, but apparently, how is it possible you can kill people with dignity in Oregon, but never when it's an execution? It makes no sense. It's just one of those things that boggles my mind. Alyssa says, I'd be happy for my tax dollars to go toward giving permanent sleeping pills to serial killers. Okay, I'm not going to go any further with it. I just found that just kind of like bizarre. All right, next thing. Fritzl. Benny brought this to me. Fritzl, where's old Fritzl? Hold on a second. Let's see how much I can't find today of all my many pieces of stuff I have out here. Where's Fritzl? Okay. Joseph Fritzl, at least that's, I think, the way you pronounce his name. Where's Fritzl? At least I got to have a picture of Fritzl. Where is that guy? I really wish I had bigger pictures. I can hardly see them. I think this is Fritzl. There he is. Fritzl. Oh, this is a fellow. This is the German fellow. Now, what he did was he fathered 7 children with his daughter. The daughter that he kept in, so find that. The daughter that he kept in the basement Where's my basement pictures? Oh, come on. There it is. Okay. This was his daughter's basement life. Elizabeth, his daughter, lived in this dingy, cramped basement for 24 years with her children that her father raped her to produce. Okay, so pretty awful, right? Now, I know that you would think he would be in prison for life at least, but no. Now he's already out. Now let's see what it says here. Incest monster. He's not only an incest monster. He kept his daughter in captivity. That's not just incest. I mean, and I put quotes around the just. She was in captivity. She was in prison for 24 years. You got killers out there who don't get 24 years of imprisonment. She was an innocent girl who was in prison for 24 years in a basement, raped repeatedly. Because if you got 7 kids with daddy raped you like a lot. So she was raped repetitively. The incest thing, I don't even give a crap so much about that. Throw that away. A man raped a girl repeatedly, forced her to be pregnant, forced her to have the babies, and kept her in the basement for 24 years. How this guy, first of all, I would go with death penalty on him, but he's not in a country that has that. But at least life in prison without any hope of parole. But no. So what happened was he was locked up in 2009 after he admitted, oh, that's nice, fathering 7 children with his daughter. He didn't really father them. He raped her and she had babies. With his daughter, Elizabeth, whom he kept packed captive in an underground dungeon for 24 years in one of the most heinous crimes ever to be reported in his native Austria. But this is 2009. 14 years later, 2023, he's been spotted at coffee shops near his prison and apparently in preparation for his release on parole. It's not even been 15 years. His daughter got 24 years. An innocent girl got in prison for 24 years and was raped repeatedly during that imprisonment. So she had she was wrongly imprisoned. Then she was tortured in prison. But daddy gets out in less than 15 years. And believe you me, his Austrian prison was quite lovely in comparison to her prison. Less than 14 years, he's out and about. Let's see. How is this possible, you ask? Well, it's made possible by the most ridiculous system ever. All right. So he is now 88 years old, and quite frankly, I don't give a crap how old he was. The problem was he got away with it for over 24 years. He tortured somebody for 24 years, committed crimes. He's a psychopath and a half, and he committed these horrific crimes for over 2 decades, 2.5 decades at least. And he got away with it. So by the time he got to go to prison, he was quite much older. He's 88 years old now. And I didn't even realize this. He was in the secure psychiatric wing at the Stein prison. Why was he in a psychiatric wing? The dude's a psychopath. He's not psychotic. He doesn't deserve any psychiatric help. Let's just throw away the key. Dungeon. You put your daughter in an underground dungeon. Let's just dig a hole for you and stick you in there. I'm sorry. The Count of Monte Cristo suffered worse than you. It is fictional, but still. All right. After 15 years behind bars, the perverted pensioner will become eligible for parole in March of this year under Austria's lenient sentencing laws. Indeed. Inmates judged ready for parole. How is he judged ready for parole? What? He's 88 years old and he's not a danger to the community anymore. I don't give a crap. He doesn't deserve to be free. Period. So they base this on their conduct, mental and physical condition. Well, his mental condition is psychopathy, so that should just eliminate him right there. Anyway, Fritzl, who has repeatedly asked to be released, that's nice, is set to have his case reviewed by justice and prison officials, as well as suffering from Alzheimer's disease, or faking it. One of Austria's most renowned psychiatrists said Fritzl was no longer a threat to society and would be incapable of carrying out any crimes. Well, Mr. Psychiatrist, I don't give a crap with it. Can't commit crimes anymore at 88 years old. doesn't deserve to have coffee in a cafe. Okay, so the first steps are little short trips to see how you do in the cafes. That's so nice. Social media users have been horrified by the news, as they should be. One netizen said, he suffers from dementia but can go out to have coffee. Something's wrong here. Okay, day parole after an atrocious crime. So a lot of people are pretty pissed off. And this person said, quite rightly, it's irrelevant whether someone is still posing a threat or not. The crime has to be punished. Yes. At least give them 24 years in a dungeon. Eye for eye. All right. Let's see what else is said about this. Okay. His lawyer, because the lawyers always seem to love their psychopathic clients. His lawyer, Astrid Wagner, who last year published a book based on a series of his letters because she's making money. Okay, sorry. I'll control myself. And I will not buy her book. Told Newsflash, a new life in a care home is within the bounds of possibilities. Oh, that's sweet. I guess the care home he had for his daughter in the basement was acceptable too. She said, I personally see a chance for a release. He fulfills all the criteria. Do you know he's a psychopath? Oh, don't you care? All right. The man is almost 90 years old and his mental condition is deteriorating. Oh, too bad. He is in need of care, support, and care. Sorry, he's in need of support and care. I do not want to support him, nor do I want to care for him. Sorry. And I hope nobody else does want it as well. Let's see, whatever. Let's see. It's like, oh, okay. Oh, look at this. He is polite and very charming. Joseph Fritzl is only human, not a beast. He is a man who has not mastered his inner demons. Would you have any comments? I'm controlling myself here. He's only human. All right. Yes. Along with me, stick fingers down my throat. Oh my God. Texas redhead. I'd volunteer to take care of him. Maybe he could get one of those physician-assisted suicides. Oh my God, unbelievable! It always amazes me when people try to make nicey about someone who is an evil, crappy human being, has destroyed the lives of another person in such a way. The guy can't get more evil, and evil people can act nicely. I don't want to point that out, which confuses people. You can work in a prison and you can find that completely, and you can find a serial killer psychopath to be a very pleasant person to chat with. They're sometimes very good at being pleasant. So what? It's an act. They're enjoying being pleasant and you're enjoying their pleasantry, but that doesn't mean that they're not what they are. So to let them go is just, where's Jack Kevorkian when you need him? Yeah, he could be useful in this situation. Oh my God. Whew. Oh Lord. I hope none of his other children or wife wants to take care of him. I can't remember the whole story of this creature. One day I should do a whole video on him, because the fact that he got away with this for so many years, and he would whip along out, he would travel, and he was a very, very gregarious fellow. People liked him. And apparently did not suspect him of what he was doing. So I'll do a whole video on him one day in one of my series on psychopaths, but not today. So anyway, Lex says only human, not a human. He's a monster. He is, everybody's a human who's a human. When people say he's only human, I don't understand that concept. Human is a type of being on the earth. You're a primate. You're a reptile. You're an amphibian. You're one of the different kinds of sorts of creatures on the earth. But just because you're in a quote human form does not make you a decent person. You're not just a human. No, you're not. Whatever you are as you came into the earth, something seriously went wrong there. So, just to toss it off as, well, he's just human. He just makes mistakes. People make mistakes. So, this is a good way to put it. Charlotte says, we're all human, but some of us are not civilized. Yeah, there you go. Okay, onward. I want to mention that I'm going to do the show this weekend. The show this weekend is going to be on Jennifer Kesse. Her dad has just come. I hope I have the right picture. You all know I cannot tell the difference between faces. And I swear to God, my last show, I'm going to actually have to edit that. It's so bad because I couldn't tell the difference between people. I just have no facial recognition at all. So anyway, face blindness is called. But anyway, dad has come forward and he's talking a lot about the fact that Jennifer Kesse has never been found. She went missing in Florida, never been found. And I think there's a lot to talk about with that case. What do I think happened to Jennifer? What do I think the police did? And there's a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. So I decided I will do the case this weekend on Jennifer Kesse. It will be on Sunday at 3 p.m. So I want to just point that out. Now, I want to talk about this case, and I do so only because, let me find this person. Okay, hold on a second. I tell you, this is how small the pictures are. And so it's like you're looking, I'm going, what am I looking for? Where is the person I'm looking for? Okay. No, I can't find, I swear to God, I can't find. Tiny little pictures driving me nuts. Hold on one second. How is this picture not here? Maybe I forgot this picture. Okay, I'm going to look. Hold on a second. Oh shoot! The picture is actually freaking missing. Okay. I'm gonna do the cheaty thing, which is I'm just gonna hold up a picture, just because I don't want to try to have to bring it over. Where did it go? How does it miss it? I forgot to click. Oh no, here it is. It did not come over. Okay, I'm gonna just show you the picture. This is old school. Hi there. Okay, this is Taya Ashton. Okay, Taya Ashton. And the issue I have here that I want to talk about is motive, okay? Because too often we waste a lot of time on what is the motive of somebody who commits a crime. And the question comes down to is, do you have the right to commit the crime regardless of what your supposed motive is? So in this particular case, hold on a second, let me find it. Okay, this happened actually near my home in Prince George's County, Maryland. All right. And this, what in the world is it? Okay. In this case, what happened here was this guy, hold on a second. His name is Alan Price. He's 27 years old, and he killed, shot to death, Taya Ashton, who is a 20-year-old transgender woman. And she was shot to death in her Suitland apartment on July 18th. Okay. The police arrested him. He's from District Heights, Maryland. And they charged him with first and second degree murders, as well as assault and gun charges. Then they get in this very strange thing where they say, police say, and because police say, what does that even freaking mean? Price and Ashton have been involved in a relationship. Well, first of all, I don't know what you mean by relationship. How long was the relationship? What kind of relationship? What are we even talking about? All right. So police were called to Brooks Drive in Suitland, where officers found Ashton suffering from a gunshot wound. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Medical examiners later recovered a .40 caliber bullet from Ashton's body during the autopsy. And they linked phone conversations between Ashton and Price the night she was murdered. Several items are also missing from her apartment, which is interesting. I think one of her purses was missing, and he was running around. He had he was a Gucci bag, and he was running around with the Gucci bag. Was the murder a robbery, or was the murder over something else, and then the guy robbed her? Okay. Either way, was he robbing her and she objected and he shot her, or was it something else that caused it and he shot her and then he robbed her? Could be either way. All right. The Sunday after the murder, they pursued Price into a tunnel near the Pentagon metro station and later arrested him on an unrelated theft charge. Guy's a thief. Okay. Unrelated theft charge. So he's a criminal. This dude's a criminal. At the time of his arrest, he wore a Gucci bag, which they just got was the same thing as the bag missing from Ashton's home. He was wearing the Gucci bag, so I guess it was a bag for anybody of any gender or persuasion. All right. Now, next, it says here, according to charging documents, Price admitted to being sexually intimate with Ashton. Did you just see that? That was really weird. Did you see this picture? Which is I'm working on this right now. I'm trying to do impressionism like Monet, but nowhere near. What the heck? It just like fell over. Stay. Okay. I'm working on that next week to make it better. Anyway, he was admitted to being sexually intimate. What does sexually intimate mean? Well, most of us think that sexually intimate means not just kissing. Usually when by the time you get to the sexually intimate part, you're talking about the parts below the waist. Just pointing this out. We're going to get to the issues here. All right. Ashton is the 31st known transgender or gender nonconforming person to be fatally shot or killed in the United States this year. All right. So then this goes on. And the grandfather believes that Ashton's gender identity may have played a role in her death. And originally the police said it was not a gender issue, had nothing to do with her being transgender, had everything to do with this guy being like a thief, basically. And they said it didn't have anything to do with it. And other people objected and said, yes, I think it did. Apparently, when he went to trial, during his sentencing part, he actually said, well, I shot her because I found out after we'd done it that she wasn't a biological, a person who was biologically female at birth. All right. So this, by the way, I'm not a political channel. I'm talking about motive, which is just interesting to me. And what actually happens. And a lot of times when we read about crimes, we don't get very good information as to the actual details of how things went down. One of the interesting things about the victim is that she's 20, and her family talks about her wanting to buy a certain car, wanting to start some kind of an Instagram channel, wanting to be an entrepreneur, but nobody talks about what she was doing for work. And one of the reasons people end up getting killed is in the line of work of prostitution. Now, I'm not saying she was a prostitute. I'm just saying there's no evidence of her working in any other thing that anybody ever talked about. And prostitution is a dangerous thing to do. It just is. People who hook up with prostitutes, pay for the night, or get involved with them, it's just a very dangerous field of employment, shall we say. Now, this fellow, there's all kinds of possibilities here. And just because he says at sentencing, oh, I killed her because, doesn't mean it's true. So when you look at motive, don't say, oh, well, now we know the motive. No, you don't. The dude's a psychopath. A person who will shoot a woman in cold blood and steal her crap, the dude's a psycho. So we can't believe what he says. So did he hire her? I don't know that she was involved in prostitution, but did he pay her for something? She came back with him, and he found out she had body parts he wasn't pleased with. And when I used to do sign language interpreting, there was a thing that was said, I'm still full boy, not full girl. Okay, so if you find out when you're having a good time that, surprise, not full girl, Still a fool boy. Okay, you got something you may not like to deal with. And if a person misrepresents themselves, it can cause you to become angry, which can cause you to lash out. Now, if that were true, should you lash out by shooting the person? Killing them? No, probably you should just say, you fooled me. I'm not paying you, and walk out. That would be the proper response. However, they keep saying he was in a relationship, a sexual relationship. I'm pretty sure a sexual relationship, you already know what's below. It's not a big surprise. The person's not born biologically female. So what kind of bullcrap is that? So I don't believe his story at all. Now, what was he actually doing with her? Why did he kill her? We will never know. We will never know. But I'm going to point out a thing that has nothing to do with transgenderism or prostitution. I'm just going to point out a simple scenario. A woman comes home. She enters her bedroom. She finds her husband having sex with her best friend. I'm going to say she's pissed. Husband broke his vows. Best friend stabbed her in the back. And she has to see this in front of her eyes. She has a couple choices, a few choices. One, yell at them and walk out of the room. Throw some items at them that are going to kill them. Or go get her gun and shoot them both dead. Do you have, regardless of what you're seeing in front of you, regardless of the insult to you or the anger to you, when people will say something like temporary insanity, no. As much as you can be hurt, desperately hurt, even finding your spouse with somebody else in bed, your own bed, does not give you the right to commit murder. Now, if you find a man having sex with a 6-year-old daughter in your bed, you can shoot him. Yes, that's called self-defense. That's called defense of your daughter, saving somebody. That is 100% permissible. But hurt feelings, even if the feelings, you feel like your whole life has been destroyed, does not give you the right to commit murder. I don't know what this dude's issue is. I don't know whether he paid for something he didn't get. I don't know if he's in a relationship and just changed his mind. I don't know if he's in a relationship and got mad at her and just shot her and then is claiming it was because of, I don't know if the dude's just a thief. I have no clue. But I find it interesting that people want to weigh in and say, this is the motive, and it's usually done for political reasons. This is the motive, and this is either, sometimes people say the motive's acceptable. Like, oh, I can understand why that person killed the other person, when that wasn't self-defense or defending of another person, just because their ego was hurt. Or this person didn't have a right to kill somebody because their ego was hurt. Because the situation might be exactly the same. So I just find it interesting when you're reading stuff in the media, and I'm talking about this from a profiling point of view, from an analysis point of view, not again, an emotional point of view, not a political point of view, but just to understand that if I'm looking at this and people say, what do you think happened? I'm like, well, quite frankly, I don't know. I don't know what his motive was. I don't care what he says his motive was. All I know is he shot her, stole her crap, and walked out of the place. I'm good with him going to prison for murder. Murder one. Because I don't care what his excuse is. There is no excuse. And on top of that, he stole her shit. So, once when I see people steal people's stuff, every other point of your motive just goes right down the drain. So, but I think it's interesting when you look at motive, what people are guilty of. Loretta says, killed over a Gucci bag or because lover is transgender, or maybe both. Well, none of them are acceptable reasons to kill people. So there you go. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Lex says, that's it. You can turn it into a motive or gender, but doesn't mean it is. Exactly. And that's just the point I'm trying to make. That be very careful when you're trying to understand motive of people, because we will never get inside the head of a person. But what we can know is, did they have an acceptable legal reason to pull the trigger? And that would be defending yourself, defending another person from bodily harm. Those things are acceptable. Get your butt hurt? No. I could make a joke about that. Well, that was a surprise. No, I'm sorry. That would be rape then. But anyway, but ego butt hurt. that's not a reason for killing somebody. So be very careful when you hear stories about whether there's a legal reason that they should be forgiven for their killing of another human being. A legal reason, not an ego reason. And I don't care what your ego reason is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they find your spouse is a big fat cheater. It doesn't matter. If you are not in harm's way, if you don't believe that you're about to die or will die or whatever, or somebody else is going to die, you can't shoot them. So, who can afford Gucci? Lots of laughs. I'm jealous. Well, I got a great Gucci purse when I was in China. It only cost me $3 on the road. Only one of my friends said, "That's a fake." And then another woman said, "Oh, that's a gorgeous purse." I'm like, I can fool some of the people, and it's $3. This chat is probably going to be demonetized. It could be, I hope not. Anyway, we shall see. But just that's the point I want to make. Now, making that point, I want to make the point about, let's talk about Alec Baldwin. Because he is now second grand jury. Second grand jury has indicted him. And the first one didn't. And I'm sure he thought, I'm free. I'm home free. There's nothing's going to happen to me. And that didn't work out so well for him, because now he's now been charged. Let me see if I can find that story. Where is it? Alec Baldwin facing new involuntary manslaughter charges. And this is very interesting. Alec Baldwin is now facing involuntary manslaughter charge in fatal Rust shooting. What is different this time? I'm looking for my Alec. Oh, here. No, that's not him. I'm trying to find the Alec Baldwin picture. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Oh, that's when he's on the set, because he doesn't. What the heck? Hold on. There he is. That's what he looks like when he's got a fake beard. Okay. He looks pretty good with a fake beard and a cowboy hat. But anyway, his initial involuntary manslaughter charges were dropped in April, but that guy's resting up, having some wines, and he's like, now they come back after him. Now, what happened? Alec Baldwin was charged with involuntary manslaughter on Friday in the fatal shooting of cinematographer Halyna Hutchins on the set of Rust in 2021, according to documents. Okay, this is the second time a grand jury has indicted Baldwin for Hutchins' death. He was originally charged with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter, and the charges were later dropped. So now, going back to court, what happened? This is what happened. This is really quite interesting. In November, a video was released from the Rust set. I guess they didn't understand they should destroy these things, which showed Baldwin telling crew members to move out of the way as he prepared to shoot his weapon. This is called a bombshell video. All right. Why is this so important? It says here, the outtakes that were released in the fall were helpful and hurtful to his defense. It showed him directing a crew member to stand away from the direction that Alec was pointing his pistol. That establishes that Alec was acting safely at the moment when handling a firearm, which is good for him. But it also shows that he understood the rules of gun safety, and that when it came down to Halyna Hutchins and he pointed the gun at her, he didn't say, "Get out of my way," and he shot right at her. Hutchins was killed in the New Mexico set, and another fellow was wounded by a bullet from a weapon Baldwin was holding. Baldwin was denied he pulled the trigger of the gun that killed Hutchins, which has always been questionable. Like, the accidentally went off. Didn't touch the trigger. But let's say he didn't even touch the trigger. He's still pointing at her. He's still pointing it at you. The rule in the world is you never point a weapon at another human being or animal. You never point at anything you don't want to kill. Now, the only way you can point it is if it's not really a loaded weapon or it's a fake. That's the only way you can point it. But he apparently, and it says here, this is his defense team. Actors are not expected to be gun experts, but Alec was handed a real firearm and pointed it at two people without checking himself to see if it was unloaded or having the prop master do that for him. It is standard procedure to ensure that a firearm is unloaded when it's used on the set. The problem comes down to this. Is Alec Baldwin a murderer? And my answer to that is no. I can look at motive there and say, I don't think he had any intention of killing that woman. I don't think he had any intention of that. And was he careless? Absolutely. He was handling a weapon, assuming it was not loaded. And I've always gone back to, what is it, the Odd Guys? What's the name of the Odd Guys? And I always remember, it was Felix Unger, I think. He said the stiff one. I can't remember. It's been so long. But I remember when he wrote on a board, he said, assume. And he wrote ASSUME. And then he said, assume means that you made an ass out of you and me. And I've never forgotten that. And I've always said from that point on, never assume anything because it makes an ass out of you and me. So Alec Baldwin, if he assumed the weapon was not loaded and pointed at another human being, he made a dead woman out of her and a killer out of himself. Bad move. He should have known. He should have, before he he should have checked that gun out or had somebody check it out with him to make absolutely sure that the gun was safe. He did not do that. And yet at other times he said, watch out, get away from me, I'm pointing this gun. He knew that at other times he warned people to make sure they were not in the line of fire. And if he's willing to do that one time, why didn't he do it the next time? I think not because he didn't care about her, but because he's a careless son of a gun. He was careless. And I think it's involuntary manslaughter. I think to me, it's very similar to, and I know some people disagree. Somebody goes to a bar with a bunch of their friends. They have drinks. They think they're okay. They get on the road, they drive, and they make a mistake and kill somebody. And the car moves into another lane or whatever. They don't see something. They kill somebody. They never intended to murder somebody. Yes, they shouldn't have had a drink before they went out. This is true. I'm not saying that they were not responsible, but they also weren't planning to murder anybody, nor were they have the murderer mindset. It was an accident brought on by irresponsibility, which is what you call manslaughter. So do I believe he's guilty of manslaughter? Absolutely. And do I think he deserves time in jail, prison? I don't have a problem with that. Do I think he deserves a long prison sentence? No, I do not believe that. But if she's dead and she's never going to live again, she's lost her life, I think he could do a couple of years in prison. And I think that at least is reasonable. I hope he just doesn't get found guilty and then given 60 hours of community service. That's problematic for me. So that's my thoughts on him. Alyssa says, so complicated. I have a feeling everyone who touched the gun along the chain is going to pay for this somehow. Like there's a manufacturing error, the distributor, retailers. Well, yeah, essentially, the person I would hold most responsible was the person who was the armorer who was handling the gun and supposedly putting blanks in it or whatever they were doing. If they put something in that gun that shouldn't have been in that gun, I don't know how a person in that position does not get charged. And that might be more than involuntary manslaughter, because that's 100% unacceptable. And that seems not accidental. How do you accidentally put a real live bullet in a prop gun? There's going to be a whole nother thing on that, but that whole thing, yeah, the armorer, yeah, I'm concerned about that. Criminal negligence is a crime and not the same as manslaughter. I'll take your word on that, Chill, just because I suck at figuring all the legal stuff out because I'm not a lawyer. I'm a profiler. I analyze how things work. I'm not so good at all the distinctions sometimes in the criminal aspects of things. There's so many various things that different jurisdictions and the way I get very confused, but I'm good with that. What about 100 hours of community service and 2 years probation. Okay, Lex, I know Lex wanted to do this one, so I'm going to get to this one, Lex. So Lex said, and let me read what Lex said. Lex is talking here about 100 hours of community service and 2 years probation for a lady on a psychotic weed trip that stabbed her boyfriend 108 times. Should she get community service? I want to read, actually, Lex, I want to read your actual, where'd it go? Well, where is it? Hold on a second. I got a lot of stuff in here. Where'd it go? Huh. Okay, I swear to God, I saw it here. Hold on. I'm looking for it everywhere. Didn't you send me I swear to God, you sent me an email. Oh, man. It's missing. I actually kept it for the purpose because I thought it was a really good one. Let me see if I did a photo of it. Oh. Well, I did, but everything's gone missing on me again. Okay, Lex pointed out what okay. I wish I could read the rest of it. Oh, maybe it's what the heck. Charlotte. Okay, Charlotte also asked about that. Charlotte also said, "What do you think about?" Maybe are you Lex? Are you under? I'm so confused. Lex, Charlotte. I'm not sure who's who. Anyway, let me get to the story on that in case you're wondering. Okay, so there's this woman, and this is very interesting. I'm going to point out 2 different crimes back to back when I talk about what do you sentence people for. And again, I'm not a lawyer. I want to talk about, where is she? Okay. Kimberlee Singler and Bryn Spejcher. Kimberlee Singler. Okay, this is Bryn Spejcher. Yeah, there she is. She's an audiologist. She's partially deaf or fairly deaf from Chicago. She underwent emergency surgery after stabbing herself in the face and neck during a weed-induced coma. At least that's the claim. Okay, that's her. And then I want to point out, is that her? The other one. This is Kimberlee Singler. She stabbed 2 of her children to death, these 2 children, and stabbed another one. And then she was also stabbed. And she claimed that a burglar had come in and these 2 children were dead. She's lying next to them with one other child. The other child survived. She survived and doesn't appear to have suffered too much of an injury. Okay, nothing life-threatening. It appears, and I can't find the proof of this, that she underwent emergency surgery, so it appears that she stabbed herself much better than Singler stabbed herself. In other words, what I'm trying to point out here is sometimes when people commit certain crimes, their way of pretending that it wasn't them who did it, they harm themselves, but always in a way that never really hurts them that badly. Like a guy will say, somebody came in and he shot my family to death, but he just shot me in the leg. Really? So he left the witness alive and only shot you in the leg. Or somebody stabbed my family to death. Each one of them had their throats cut. They were stabbed 20 times each. But I have this little cut on my arm, because they came after me too. So it's always like they're not really hurt that bad. So the difference between these 2 crimes, and I can't tell you the absolute conclusion I would come to because I cannot get enough information at this point. Let me talk about Singler first. Okay, Singler. Now, when we look at background, because one of the things about background, it tells you whether this person, it could be something that happened in just one moment of time, or whether there's an entire history coming before that leads up to that moment in time. Singler, let's see, where's my Singler one? Singler, she was in a very bad, she was get custody battle with her ex, and she is this it? Hold on, trying to find it. She's gone missing. Oh, can't find it. Anyway, she was in a horrible custody battle with her husband. And she accused her husband of a whole bunch of stuff, like threatening her with a knife, which is interesting since her kids ended up dead from a knife attack. Threatening her with a knife, doing other assorted things that she was trying to tell the courts, you shouldn't give him custody, I should have full custody. Well, apparently the courts never believed her. So after they got divorced, they were going to turn over custody to him. She didn't particularly like that. Well, she didn't show up for the things she was supposed to show up for, handing the kids over, custody battle hearing. She didn't show up. And then a 911 call comes in, and the police find her at her home with her 2 dead kids, and she's lying on the floor with the other child who I guess she failed to kill properly. And she claimed a burglar came in, a home invasion situation, and stabbed everybody up, but she's looking pretty good. And this is coming all on the heels of, I never want you to have my kids, or never, you can't get the kids type of thing. Usually see the man do this and not the woman. Usually it's a husband, attacking the ex-wife and kids, you can't have them. But then again, we do have women who do it too. So in this case, she did that. And then apparently while they were investigating this as a quote burglary, she ran off to England and tried to hide out there. Now there's some stories on the internet how she was being catfished by a guy who claimed he was a celebrity, and a guy used by Superman, and she was off to England to find him because he was Superman. Look, I don't get into that crap. A whole bunch of gossip, don't know any of the truth of any of this stuff, and I don't care why she went to England. Maybe in her mind, she got rid of the kids. She might have been a stalker. I'm going to stalk this guy down, and I'm going to get the celebrity guy I always wanted. I don't know. I don't care. What I do care about is whether she killed the children. And the answer to that is yes, she's been arrested for that. Now, what kind of sentencing do I think she should get? I think she wanted to get rid of the children so her husband couldn't have them. She murdered innocent children to satisfy herself so she could either have a free life, or if her husband thought he was going to get them, make her look bad, he was going to, she has her motives. All of her motives suck. She's a bad person and she's a psychopath. I want her in prison for the rest of her life, if not getting the death penalty. I have no question about this woman, that she committed a horrific crime and has history behind the crime. And she tried to cover up the crime and she ran away. So there's all kinds of things saying this woman's just a psychopath. It's really unfortunate that the courts took way damn too long to remove the children from her custody. And her poor husband has lost two out of 3 of his children. It's very, very sad. Now, let's go to the psychosis lady. All right. So now we have this other very strange story. And this one, this is one that's not as easy. Okay, here she, oh, that's not her. Go away. Okay, this is Bryn Spejcher. Now, I have to read this story, so I hope I can find it because I really need to read this story. Here we go. Okay, Bryn Spejcher. If that's, I don't know how you pronounce her name, but let's go with it. She supposedly, she did stab. She stabbed her date 108 times in weed-induced frenzy. This is a headline, so ignore that fact. First tried pot in her 20s and decided it wasn't for her, ex-boyfriend's revealed. Okay, let's actually see what happened in this case. She was, Spejcher, her ex-boyfriend and her childhood friends all say that she was opposed to doing any kind of drugs when she was in high school. And she only smoked weed, marijuana, once in her life in her 20s. And supposedly she tried it and said, I don't like it. It's not for me. And didn't do it again. She did indeed. She's 33 years old now. She was convicted of involuntary manslaughter because she was in supposedly a psychotic state caused by the drug she had taken, and therefore had no idea what the hell she was doing. She did not intend to murder him. She had no reason to murder him. Voices were telling her to do weird things. What's interesting about the case is that she stabbed this guy. Now, mind you, I want to point this out. She'd only known him for a month. This wasn't a long-term relationship. There's no talk about the relationship being bad or having problems. There's no custody issues here. There's no history with these two. And there's no history in her life either that I know of. So essentially, she went over to have a nice evening with him, and supposedly he had a bong, which was his bong. So, okay, apparently like to do a little bit of weed. She took a hit, and then he said, take another. She took another, and then something, and then supposedly, I put quotes around this, supposedly lost her damn mind. And at that point, she stabbed him over 100 times. And then she turned the blade on her dog. Well, actually, if her dog, I don't know if she brought the dog with her. Where was she at? Anyway, she stabbed up her dog, which is very unusual because even psychopaths usually like manage to miss the dog, you know? And she also stabbed her own face and neck, which is why she went in for emergency surgery. Now, the two had been only dating for a month, and then they went back to his apartment and smoked marijuana from a bong. The judge believed that she had a psychotic break from whatever was in the weed. Now, it says here that, let's see, a little bit more information on this. This is also interesting. Police were called to the victim's apartment on Memorial Day, where they found Spejcher had fatally stabbed Amelia 108 times. She had also attacked and seriously injured her dog. And when officers arrived, she was slashing her face and neck with a blade, only stopping when the authorities hit her repeatedly with a baton. Now, I've seen people fake crap. That's a lot of faking. You know, strapping up your dog. Again, people, if they hate the dude, won't usually hurt the dog. And she seriously injured the dog. Then they're arriving, and she's slashing at her face and neck, and she's doing this kind of stuff, and she won't stop. And it's very hard to do that to yourself, even if you're trying to fake something. Usually fake it, not do so much damage. They had to hit her with a freaking police baton to get her to stop. So this is extremely bizarre behavior, extremely. Now, the other woman, this one, Singler, I believe methodically killed her children and then gave herself, I don't know how she she didn't kill the other one correctly. But her injuries were very minor, but they came over and they were investigating. They weren't taking her out on a stretcher bleeding to death. So that was very premeditated. There's no question in my mind, Singler is a psychopath. Okay, but this woman, why would she stab this guy 108 times? They were dating, but they didn't have kids together. They were smoking some weed, and all hell breaks loose. Stabbed him 108 times, almost killed the dog, and stabbing up herself and slashing her throat so badly the police have to hit her with a baton. That's weird. Now, she claims, and I'll put the claims, so they don't say claims here, and this always bothers me when they don't do this. They say, shortly after taking a second hit from the victim's bong, Spejcher began hearing and seeing things that weren't there. No, that is an incorrect statement by the Daily Mail. She claimed, because there's no way to know whether she did or she did not. So let's be fair here. She claimed she began hearing and seeing things that weren't there and believing she was dead, and that she had to stab Amelia in order to bring herself back to life. That's what she claims. I can't say. It seems like a weird way to bring yourself back to life is to stab up somebody else. But if you have true psychosis, it's possible. All right. The prosecution painted Spejcher to be a party girl who just wanted to get high the night she killed Amelia. Now, I would like to see the evidence that she was a party girl, because supposedly she wasn't into drugs. Now, do I know that this is true or not? No, I do not, because I don't have enough information here to prove one thing or the other. So I don't know what kind of person she was. Now, according to her friends, let me point out what other people say. But Spejcher's oldest friend and mother describe her as naive and sheltered, citing her sheltered life, avoiding daunting situations. Hold on a second, I'm having problems with the website here. Due to her hearing impairment, she suffered from birth. Spejcher's friends also claim she'd never taken interest in marijuana. In fact, would rather avoid it. She happened to know this guy from high school. She played basketball and softball with her friends. She liked camping and hiking. There was some of the friends to the drug route and some friends didn't. She went with the ones that didn't. She didn't try marijuana again until she was 25, according to her ex-boyfriend. The time she had the one hit and didn't like it. She didn't necessarily want to be at the same. She was at a house party. They were at a hiking trip, and she didn't want to be at this house party. But she ended up at this house party after they were camping, and she tried it and said, "No, I don't. That doesn't work for me." Now, supposedly, she did a tremendous amount of community work, helping with the deaf community, and so on and so forth. So everybody's pretty shocked. They can't imagine her doing such a thing. So here's the problem. Was she at fault? Now there's an interesting divide when you look at arguments on this case. People who like weed and people who smoke a lot of pot, smoke a lot of marijuana, they're all like, she's completely a psychopath. She stabbed the guy, had nothing to do with the weed. Because weed is perfectly safe, no matter what. It's perfectly safe. And then the people who haven't smoked it in 30 years ago, I smoked weed when I was 20, it was fine. Okay. What marijuana was like when I was 20 is not what it's like today. The strength is massively different. And there's also things that have been done to weed that makes it extremely strong. And then there's things that are mixed in sometimes, and people don't realize it, that they didn't realize that wasn't just marijuana they were smoking. They were smoking other stuff, that was in there. And I worked in a hospital, and I know a lot of guys who smoked weed, but it wasn't weed. It was weed with stuff in it, and they were psychotic. I've seen them. They were completely out of it. They were hearing voices. They were seeing all kinds of things because they weren't just smoking plain old weed. Now, what was in the bong? The bong was provided by the victim. Did the victim give her straight, clean weed, or did he give her some adulterated something? And she smoked that and went into a psychotic thing, which I have seen at the hospital, seen it happen. And if she didn't see if she thought she was just smoking weed and going to get a little high and silly and thought, okay, this is a new boyfriend and I haven't done this in the last 5 years. And I thought, I'll try it one more time. And whatever it was in it, put her into a psychotic moment. Then I can't say she's a murderer in the sense that she had any intention of murdering anybody. So there you come into maybe a real issue of person who is in a psychotic state. And if she didn't have any issues before, this is important to point out. If she wasn't involved in drugs before, if she didn't have evidence of schizophrenia before, if she wasn't doing anything terribly unusual, in other words, if her life had been going on pretty peacefully and nobody had any complaints about her having psychopathic behaviors or doing really weird things, and this is one moment in time where she smoked something she shouldn't have smoked, and her brain went. Now, what do you do with a situation like that? Now, I don't know. I hope, you would think they tested the crap that was in the bong, but I haven't heard about it. I haven't heard anything about that. I would like to know there's something was in there that shouldn't have been in there. That wasn't clean weed. And the guy provided it to her. And so in a sense, if he provided it to her and it was something that was not safe, then he's kind of at fault for his own demise. Because I can't see a particular reason why she should have done this. I mean, I can't come up with anything that doesn't sound like a psychotic break. Now, I haven't analyzed everything. I don't have access to everything. Do I think she should have just been sent home and do some community service? That's really tricky. Again, I don't know. I don't know. What did they do? Testing on her? Test on the bong? Test on him? What the heck? What the heck was ingested was what I want to know, and I can't seem to find it. Should she may have been put in a mental institution? So look, if you had a psychotic break like that and did this kind of thing, you're not safe to be out on the streets anyway. You're going to have major issues, and we're not sure you're safe to be out there. Would I have just given her a slap on the wrist? No, I think I would have sent her to a psychiatric institute for a number of years. And she killed somebody, And if she killed somebody because she chose to do drugs, which she shouldn't have chosen to do, regardless if you thought it was fairly harmless, maybe she has to pay the price of that. Maybe get a 3-year sentence, 5-year sentence in a psychiatric institute, make sure she's safe to return to the community, make sure she understands what she did. I think the slap on the wrist and that kind of bothers me. But I just wonder whether it really was a true psychotic break. And I'm not big on psychotic breaks, but this sounds like one. It really does sound like one. Let me see what your thoughts are on this. Lex says medical marijuana and medically used opiates and psychedelics are excellent when prescribed for the right reason. Not that I've had any. Well, when things are, again, this is not a political channel. You know, I am pretty anti-drug. I am. I believe in drugs under what you just said, under certain circumstances where a person is, it is being used for a specific reason and being monitored for a specific reason. I don't have issues with that. I have issues with recreational drugs. Sorry, just do. And I think the fact that in this country we are so lazy about recreational drugs, we have a ton of people who are being killed, dying of fentanyl and other things. And I just think it's very, very sad that we just sort of say, oh, no big deal. And yet it's killing so many people. So I'm not fond of recreational drugs. Under certain circumstances, under very, very well-controlled situations medically, I'm okay with that. But we have huge arguments over this. As soon as this goes up, what I do is I get a ton of people who would just attack me and say, well, you know, there's nothing, if you have a drink, it's the same thing as smoking weed. Why are you into? And I'm like, okay. I'm not going to get into a big argument over whatever is like to imbibe. I just not fond of it. I'm just me. I'm not fond of it. I would like to see all drugs be illegal. That's me. But that has nothing to do with this particular case. Pat believes in anxiety relief drug called Merlot. Only if it's good Merlot. Get out of my house. I have a camera. Fireball gas station whiskey. No comment. Taking the fifth, although I videotaped it, so it's on my channel. I can't get out of it now. Let me see what it said. 2 puffs on a bong is a bit of a stretch, enough though to stab somebody 108 times. But to stab somebody 108 times is a little crazy. Yeah, I mean, when we're talking about 2 hits, the question again, I just don't know where the heck is the evidence. What were they smoking? You know what I mean? I mean, I'm really wondering what the heck. And for some reason, I've gotten this blank in my head. Somebody tell me what's the stuff they put in weed in the when you're poor and you put it in. It's sold in the cities all the time. I used to know this crap. It's been a while. It's well known, and I'm just blanking on it for some freaking reason. Somebody tell me. It's going to drive me crazy. K2 spice. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah. People who do K2. There's some whacked out people on K2. Let me tell you. And the problem is that it's oftentimes sold. You know, you're just gonna get one. You can buy one. You know, one. No, I forgot what it's called. I think of spliff because I've been around Jamaica too long, but the smaller ones. But that's what people buy, and it's pretty cheap. And the reason it's cheap is because the weed is crap, but they put K2 in it, and that's what gives them the massive high. But I've seen them come in completely whacked out. So, so the two hits, is that enough to cause something like that? But what would be the reason? I mean, literally, I mean, it's very rare that a woman would stab up a dude 108 times on a date. What would be the reason? I can't come up with the reason. I mean, talk about motive. I can't come up with one that makes a lot of sense. Women have been known to stab a guy like one time. Like she gets mad and she like goes like this. And, oh shoot, that went right in his chest. But 108 times, and the dog and herself. That doesn't ring of the psychopathy. That rings of a psychotic break. It really does. And so I would like to see. I would like to know more about what I haven't seen anything about the drug testing, and I don't understand why I haven't. Oh, here we go. Texas Redhead says, wait a minute. we name our cars. We bought our second Kia and we call it K2. You may want to think about that, maybe change the name slightly. Because people will think you're a drug dealer. They will. They'll think you're a drug dealer. Oh my God, that's funny. Taylor says, 2 hits of a bong put me into immobility, not violence. You would think most people who do 2 hits would be lying there just kind of thinking and laughing and whatever. But to have that level of energy to do that much stabbing and slashing, it's so not normal. And this is a woman. Now, again, I would like to know more of her history. But if this is a woman who has had no history, she's done well, she's working, her friends like her family likes her, she does a lot of community service with the deaf. I mean, and one day she goes on a date, takes 2 hits of a bong and goes bananas. That does not sound psychopathic. It sounds psychotic. But now, if somebody finds in her diary, well, I want to see what it's like to kill people, well, then I'm going to change my mind. But the fact that I'm really bothered by the dog, that she would, people don't usually attack their own pets. They don't. And people don't usually attack themselves to the point where the police actually have to beat them to stop them from attacking themselves. That's not pleasant to do. I mean, pain is pain. What the heck would drive you to that? It's so I think there maybe, I don't know. I don't know the end of that story, but I will say this. A woman who killed her kids, that's a psychopath. Okay. That's a plain out, straight up psychopath. This woman, I don't know. I just don't know. I think it's a little, I think if they've proven, now, mind you, let me change up something here. Hold on a second. Hold on. And I don't see this. If they tested him, her, and the bomb and came up with K2 or something in it, then I'm like, well, too bad, dude. If you gave your brand new girlfriend, you've only dated for 4 weeks, some kind of drug that was that dangerous, screw you. I mean, I really don't feel that sorry. If none of that was in there, then you just wonder, how strong weed was it? I mean, there is strong weed out there, but usually if it's really strong, you just don't move for a long time. So I don't know. I would like to know a little bit more about this. If any of you find out more about anything about the drug testing, just let me know. I mean, I'll come back next week and talk some more on this case, but that's why I'm like, because it sounds like a psychotic break. It really does. And I don't, often run to psychotic stuff. I mean, unless I have proof. This sounds that way. And so it does sound that way. Anyway, let me see what else to talk about. Ian Bailey. Got to mention Ian Bailey. Many of you know I did I will link that below if I remember. I did the case, the Sophie case in Ireland where she was murdered, and they've never actually, the French courts found Ian Bailey, a guy that lived in the community, guilty of the crime, but the guards, that's the police in Ireland, they arrested him twice, but they did not convict him, did not charge him, they didn't convict him either. And he went on living, even though many people think he's guilty, and I think I think the evidence points toward him. Well, he had a heart attack and died. And so Where's Ian Bailey? Where's that guy? This guy here. He just had a heart attack and fell over. Well, he's in his 60s. He's a massive alcoholic, and he's had heart attacks before. The family is very upset because they wanted him to confess. They wanted a total conclusion. They said, yes, the French courts have said he did it, but we would have liked to have a better absoluteness to this. We would have liked to have known more. And the ex, which is interesting, the ex, the one he was charged with assaulting and damaging pretty badly, and she stayed with him. Yeah, because she's not too bright. But anyway, I want to read what she said about his death. And I thought it was interesting because she's still saying he didn't do it. Now, mind you, supposedly in the death of Sophie, the idea is that he actually left the house in the middle of the night, went over to Sophie's place, and had this altercation, killed her, and then returned home. And his story was questionable, and her defense of him at the time sounded sketchy as well. But this is what his ex, who now says she's over him completely, she said that he was a creature of excess, which is true. The dude's a psychopath, in my opinion, absolutely hands down psychopath. But he was excessive in a lot of his behaviors. She says that her name was Jules Thomas. He lived with her for a while, and then after he beat her up a few times, and finally, after all of this possible murder situation, she finally broke up with him. She said he was a creature of excess, and I suppose that's a result. He died from heart problems. No, I wasn't surprised. He had a heart attack and then a double heart attack, and they couldn't operate because they knew his heart was too bad. So it was in the cards. It really had to happen quite soon. He was 74 years old. Wait a minute. No, she was 74 years old now. He's in the 60s. She was older than him. Now, she said that they broke up because of this whole Sophie case. She said, I didn't have any feelings for him at the end. That's why I just got out. He was impossible to live with. He was very difficult. His personality was very explosive. He was prone to violence and violence against women. And he was convicted of assaulting Ms. Thomas in 2001 and received a 3-month suspended sentence. And she was brutal. She was brutally beaten. That dude should have been in prison. She remains adamant, though, that he did not murder French woman Sophie Toscan du Plantier. It says here, Ms. Toscan du Plantier's body was found at the entrance to her home in School, I think it's School, in West Cork, this is in Ireland, on 23rd of December, 1996. That's a fascinating case. So do click the link below. Fascinating case. Ms. Thomas said, I know he didn't do it. He is such a messy person. There will be blood everywhere. And also, he could never keep a secret. He was just one of those people who talked and talked, which is true, which is kind of funny. She said he could never keep a secret. Well, he told like 3 different people he killed Sophie. Then he claimed he was just making fun. So she says he couldn't keep a secret. Apparently he couldn't. And he says he would never have done anything like that for a story or any other reason. So he was this journalist. And one concept which I looked into is, did he want a story because he was a failed journalist? And if he killed her and then took the story up, he'd be, have a great story. Or did he kill her because she turned him down because he was he thought all the women were after him, and when they weren't, he got pissed. So anyway, she said, oh no, he couldn't have done it. Okay. So, because, well, I don't think at this point, she is not going to say he could have done it because she was there with him that night, and some of the things she said were sketchy. So she's not one. If he's dead, she's out of having. If she lied about everything, she doesn't have to talk now because he's dead. So she's not going to say anything. So will there ever be absolute proof that Ian Bailey killed Sophie? Probably not. Do I still think he did? I think the evidence points his direction. But he's gone. All I can say is that we don't have to be murdered by his poetry any longer, because my God, the guy's a bad poet. And he thought of himself as a great poet, and I bought his book, and it was abysmal. So, sometimes people who are psychopaths are still brilliant artists or actors or writers. He was not one of them. We will not miss your wedding, Ian Bailey. I'm so mean, but I don't like that guy. I did not like that guy. Laura is glad he's no longer with us. You know, he's one of these very gregarious people who came to the bar and he tells, read his poetry, and he was very aggressive to being around people. And some people liked him and thought he was interesting, and he was very smart. The guy didn't lack, he was a smart man. All right. He could have been something. He could have been good, but I don't think he had the patience to be good at anything. But he didn't lack intelligence. He looked back in the day when he may have killed Sophie. He was a good looking dude, very good looking man. And so he had some level of charm when he was younger. The charm sort of fails when, you get older. So, compared to a show without psychos or Munchausen's, I don't know. Hey, wait. This is, first of all, I do shows on murders. So most of the people are psychopaths who commit murder. Secondly, when you do a hangout, you're doing 20 different cases. Somebody's got to be a psycho. So answer to that, probably not. Dr. Drew always used to ask me that. Every time Dr. Drew had me on his show, it's about a murderer. And he get on, he goes, so Pat, we're here today. We want to talk about this case. Are you going to call him a psychopath like usual? And I go, absolutely, Dr. Drew. Absolutely. A psycho and a half. Yes. Sometimes I exaggerate. Okay. Now let me see. Oh, I was asked to talk about the Kansas City, the Chiefs, Kansas City Chief fans that are all dead in the backyard. This is the freakiest case ever. And we don't have it. The police have said they're not investigating it as a homicide at this point. They didn't say at this point. They just said not investigating it as a homicide, which is an odd statement, which I do not understand. They're waiting for toxicology reports. Now, let me find the three dudes. Where are you guys? Now, I'm a Kansas City Chief fan, so I'm really looking forward to hoping to bring in the Super Bowl so I can enjoy watching them win. Don't ask me why I'm a Kansas City Chief fan. I've never lived in Kansas City. Where's the guys? Is this them? Yeah, here they are. These are the guys. Three of them ended up dead in the backyard of this guy. Now, this guy is an HIV scientist, Jordan Willis. So he's a very smart guy. He's a scientist. He has a party at his house. And they're all Kansas City Chiefs fans, as you can see by their clothing. And so they all go over to this guy's house. And 2 days after they go over there, three of them are found dead in the backyard. Now, four of them are there, one of them left, and then the leftover three ended up dead in the backyard. Okay, so what the heck? What the heck? Okay, so we don't have, now, there's clearly no sign of homicide. Clearly no sign. No one's been shot. No one's been stabbed. No one's been bludgeoned. And you got three guys. So none of them show apparently physical signs. But the parents of the three men think this. They think that the trio was drugged and dragged outside by the scientist's pal, that he put something in their drinks or something. So now here, let me see if I can try to give you the story here. Okay. So let me try to go back to where the story starts. So anyway, supposedly, these were all friends, by the way. So they all went over there, and there was supposedly no animosity between any of them. They were all having a good time watching the game. Then supposedly they were playing Jeopardy. This is one story. They're playing Jeopardy. And then three of them end up dead in the backyard. And this guy, the guy that owns the house, apparently they claim he was like sleeping for a couple of days. Yes, a couple of days. You actually heard me correctly. And he said, well, people were knocking on his door. They were calling him, texting him. I didn't hear anything because he had one of these sound silencing headsets so he could sleep. Well, I happen to have those too. I don't sleep with them on, but they do deaden all the sounds. But for that long, it's a long time. And then the question is, how did 3 of them end up in the backyard dead? Hypothermia. Okay, well, one guy, I can get it. One guy, maybe let's say it was one guy, and they're all get really trash drunk, and one guy like staggers out of the house and he passes out in the backyard. He dies of hypothermia. I can believe that. 3 dead guys in the backyard. I'm having trouble here. Their cars were there. They could have gone to the cars. They could have gotten back in the house. Even if it was locked, somebody pointed out, if they were desperate to smash a window, they could go to the neighbor's house. They could call for help. 3 guys end up dead in the backyard. Now, the guys inside the house having a nap. A really long nap. Rip Van Winkle. All right. Now, and then these guys, they're also, if you take a look at their ages, they're in their 30s. They're in their 30s. I believe they could drink heavily. They haven't said anything about the guys being drug users. One was a father of 3 kids. I say they're in their 30s. Let's see. I'm waiting for the toxicology report to come back. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. I cannot believe 3 guys walked out of the house on their own steam and all dropped over in the backyard, unless they had drugs in their system, fentanyl or something. All of them just died of a fentanyl overdose. And if that were true, how did they get the stuff? And it's the reason the guy in the front, inside the house, didn't want to call anybody or answer any phone calls, is because he didn't know what to do with the 3 dead bodies in his house. Did he drag them outside and leave them in the backyard? And then try to pretend he just went to sleep? I mean, it's a really weird story. And of course, we're going to wait again for the drug testing to come in. But I'm going to say this. No signs of injuries to the guys. I would say I can't believe they would die of hypothermia out there. As somebody pointed out, if they were in the middle of the woods and got lost, they would die of hypothermia. But they're just all laying there next to each other, dead of hypothermia, all at the same time. Nobody gets back into the house. Nobody gets help. Nobody does anything. They just all lay down and die. I mean, I know it's been really freaking cold, but why are they outside? Why? And even if, let's say, they went outside and they got locked out, there's so many things they could have done. I can't believe that all 3 of them just lie down and die. So I'm going to say, let's wait for that drug toxicology test to come back, and then, this guy, their friend is supposedly a scientist. It seems like they're all friends. Why would he harm the other 3? One of them walked away. One of them went home. So I think if he hadn't been sleeping for 2 days and not answering any of his phone calls, he might look less suspicious. In other words, if he immediately, people called him and said, I thought they left, and, I thought they left 3 hours ago. That would make more sense. But they're lying in the backyard for a really long time, and this guy's just not responding. It's suspicious, shall we say. Fentanyl, Pat Brown, Your Highness, no pun intended. Yeah, fentanyl has become such an incredibly dangerous thing, and the sad thing about it is how it seems to be getting into everything. So it's hard to say that maybe they were drinking and maybe the guy had something extra for them to all do. Hey, try this, dudes. And they did, and they all fell over. And he's like, what the hell? Didn't realize whatever he gave them had fentanyl in it. And again, maybe Bong guy had the same problem. So, there's just, we're having a problem with, stuff that is just, it's not controllable. And it's really, it's nice when things have a pattern. You like certain alcohol, you drink 1, you drink 2, you drink 3, you sort of know what's going to go on, what the level of drunkenness is going to be and where death could come in. and there are certain drugs which you can, the old style weed, for example, that you could smoke and just got a little higher and a little higher and a little higher, nothing else. They just sat there a lot. But now there's drugs you do one thing, it's like, and all hell breaks loose. And it's really amazingly dangerous. And you're getting a lot of people who you would never expect to have died from such things, suddenly die from such things. It's quite freaky. This is a good point. I don't know what's in it. It doesn't go into my body. And that, of course, is the best choice. What's really frightening these days is that sometimes things are adulterated. I fear for children because, you never know if somebody's just going to hand them a candy these days. And they're going to think, oh, this is it's a sweet tart. It's not a sweet, well, it's a sweet tart, but it's got something else on it. It's very frightening. And, we've had issues before with, like Tylenol poisoning. What's the child? Yeah. So this is a serial killer kind of mass murder type of thing. And it is quite frightening because once you have something that is like fentanyl, that's so dangerous that a mass murderer or serial killer can use this very easily to kill people one after the other or in a large quantity without people even knowing it, as the food or drink or whatever is adulterated with it. Very frightening stuff, which is why I'm against it. But anyway, do that again in slow-mo. But that's a really creepy case. Really, really strange. Oh, here's just a fun one. BuzzFeed. Now, sometimes I'd like to help out folks in regular situations, not about murder. Okay, not about murder, but this came up in BuzzFeed and it just kind of made me laugh because it was a huge discussion. Not that BuzzFeed is really worth much for looking at anything with, but okay, BuzzFeed, where are you? BuzzFeed. Cripes. BuzzFeed. I'm getting there. Okay, now I got to look at okay, I'm going to go to my reading list because I know it's on my reading list. Where is it? BuzzFeed. Oh, here we go. All right. This is on BuzzFeed, and I just want to know what you think right up front. Okay. The story is this woman changed her service tip from $154 to $4 after she was falsely accused of walking out on the bill. All right. Here's the story, and then I want to hear what you have to say. Okay. Let's see. My husband, 31 years old, and I, 30 years old, do fairly well for ourselves. Not well enough that we have no financial burdens, but well enough that we can enjoy nice things and like to help others when we can. One way I like to do this is leaving a large cash tip when a server does particularly well or is someone we really connect with. So last night, we went to one of our spots, someplace they've obviously gone to before. It's called Our Spots. And we were served by a nice young lady, I am guessing is in her 20s. I decided to leave $200 cash for our $46 bill. I left cash on the table after the check came, and not needing change, we got up and left. Our server ran us down at the door and somewhat angrily demanded we must pay. We couldn't just run out on the bill. I asked her if she had looked at the table, and she said she hadn't. I walked back to our table with her and took the $200 and replaced it with $50, enough to cover the bill and leave a small tip, the $4 tip. I told her I would have appreciated it if she had glanced at the table first or approached us with a question instead of assuming we were running out on the bill. She seemed embarrassed and we parted ways. My husband says I'm totally being the asshole. That's one of these things. Am I an asshole? I'm totally being the asshole because I could, even should, have just left the $200. I don't think I'm an asshole because I think she could have handled the whole situation better. I don't appreciate being called a thief. Okay? So everybody's going back and forth on whether they think she's an asshole, whether they don't think she's an asshole, and for taking back the $200 tip, the $200 and putting a $50 on there. So from what it was, 100 and I got to do my math here. 100 and what was the original tip? I'm trying to get it. Let me get it back here because I don't want to do the math in my head right now. Where is it? Where's my? Shoot! Come on! Don't do this to me. No, they just wiped out my thing. Okay, whatever it was. 46, 200 minus 46 is 154. Right? $154 rather than $4. Okay, what are your thoughts? Okay, she's not the asshole. Okay, I'd have done the same. Okay, so far, two of you think that she's an asshole. Not an asshole. All right. No, I shouldn't think it would be. Some are not. I'm not sure what that is. Not the asshole. Okay, all of you are thinking that she should have. It's okay that she took the money back. Not the asshole. Interesting. All of you think she's not the asshole. It's the asshole count time. How many assholes do we have? Okay, I agree. Okay, everybody's pretty much saying she's not the asshole. Okay, here's what I want to say. The whole story is phony as hell. This is what struck me immediately. The whole story is bullshit. It's not true. It never happened. Never happened. Let me tell you why I say it never happened. First of all, they go to eat at this place, or often. People know them there theoretically. They know the waiters and waitresses. They go there enough. Their bill was $46. That's a cheap ass place. Okay. These days, two people don't go out for dinner for $46. I mean, it's hard to get that cheap. So, there's no alcohol involved. So they had a couple $20 dinners, I guess, and maybe a $15 dinner and a soda. This is not an expensive place. Nobody, especially not people who aren't, like, they say they're not rich and they have things they got to pay and all this stuff, but they like to be nice and help other people. Nobody helps a waitress if they're massively rich. Yeah, you're a big, huge, rich person, and you go to a nice place and person treats you really well. Yeah, you hand them a couple $100 because you're like, what the hell? These people don't have that kind of money. I can believe if they left her, okay, a $46 bill. I usually leave 20 to 25%, depending on what the person's like. So let's say, okay, quarter of that would be, I can do my stuff here again. So quarter of that would be like $11, right? $11, a little bit more. I'm sorry, that's $11. Okay, so you have a $46 bill, $11. You're like, so you decide you're going to leave her $20. That's almost 50%. That is, it's almost 50%. $20. A waitress who's working and has a $46 bill, and you leave $20, they're pretty happy. They're very happy. If you leave $50, they'd be confused. Like, what the heck? This is not a fancy restaurant. You got regular food. And you're just handing me $50 extra. They'd be confused. But nobody leaves $200 for a $46 bill, unless you are a massively rich person. You walk in the door and everybody's fawning over you because, oh my God, it's George Clooney. Yeah, then you might get a $200 tip. That's the first thing. I just don't buy it. Nobody leaves a tip like that. It's a bunch of garbage. Nobody does that. Secondly, you just don't leave $200 lying on a table in a not so great place. Because when you walk away, somebody's like, bang, $200. You never know that girl gets the $200. You'll never know that. You don't leave $200 lying on a table. And why aren't they using a credit card? Almost everybody uses a credit card. So what happened here is the girl put the bill on the table, supposedly. She puts the thing on the table, and within seconds, these people are headed to the door. Nobody does that. So she's probably going, what the heck? And she stopped them. Now, next thing, we don't know what she really said to these people, if this ever even happened, which I don't think it did. So the concept that this girl could have simply stepped in front and said, I'm sorry, did you leave your credit card there or cash on the table? She might have said that. That would be something reasonable. And could you just wait a minute and go back and check if that was a concern? For $46, I don't think she's running these people down and making accusations. None of this makes any sense. I don't believe it for a minute. I think this is a made-up story. And everybody's arguing about it, and somebody's back there going, that never happened. So I would say, I'll take $100 for this never happened, Alex. That's my thought on that. I just thought it was kind of fascinating. Oh, yeah, it's an annoying American thing. I hate it myself. Okay. I ordered something online, and at the checkout, it was asked if I wanted to tip the workers. Nowadays, even if you buy takeout food, now you have to they have that on there. So you feel like you're standing in front of them and you're buying takeout food, and you feel embarrassed if, you got $20 worth of takeout food. You think you should leave at least $3 to $5, even though you're not being served. So our world has gotten kind of crazy. I think that's very frustrating. You can leave $200 in Jesus loves you bucks, especially after church. I ordered something. Okay, that's so sorry. Saw that. I think so too, Pat. Yeah, don't buy it. Don't buy it at all. Don't buy it at all. It's from the School of Reddit. Wait a minute. No, it's from it's from another thing. By the way, I want to mention this. I do use Reddit a lot. Just want to let you know. Two things I use a lot that people can't believe. One is the Daily Mail and one is Reddit. Those are two places I get a lot of information from. I rarely look at YouTube channels only because they go on for hours like me, and I don't have the time. But you should listen to me. But it's too slow for me, and I have to race through stuff. So, but I have gone to Reddit because sometimes you get information and links to other things. So a lot of Reddit is crap, but there's stuff on there that's useful. Daily Mail, I will say again, has the most crime details, the most information about any crime in the shortest amount of time, even in the U.S., in spite of the fact that Daily Fail is not a U.S. publication. So I will go there over any American publication because I get more information quickly. Am I saying it's always correct? No, but it's also not worse than any other one, and sometimes is a lot better. Go figure. And the National Enquirer, I'll say this again, Michaela, National Enquirer had the best crime information of all the American publications. And I actually used to have a fellow at the National Enquirer who used to call me, and he used to give me, it was the only publication in the United States that would pay me for my time. And they listened to me for a long time, and they put in full interviews of all the things I said, rather than all the other crap media outlets who would waste my time for half an hour, not pay me, and use one sentence and take it out of context. So I had to say the National Enquirer actually was quite good. Okay, so there's a few alien babies and a whole bunch of gossip, but the crime section wasn't bad. It's one of those things that's counterintuitive, but true. But true. Let's see. Oh, you're a consistent 20% tipper. I mean, I've been around people spend more money. I have tipped more highly under certain circumstances. And sometimes if I'm there for let's say I'm sitting at the bar and I'm just having a Bloody Mary for like 2 hours, I feel bad for the bartender. I might tip him 100%. If he's very good and does what he's supposed to do, so I've tipped people for taking up their time and their table, tip them higher. But there's no way I just toss not $200 on the table, unless I'm so freaking wealthy that if somebody steals the $200, I don't care. But the other thing is, I want to make sure she gets the $200. So the whole thing is the whole story is sketchy. But this is what happens a lot of times. There's stories that are being put in the media, and no one checks to see if there's any validity to the stories. And how many times have I seen somebody say, I'll take that didn't happen for 100, Alex. I've seen that over and over again. And usually they're correct. When they say that, I'm laughing because I'm like, I totally agree with you. That did not happen. Let's see. I want a couple more things. Let's see. So many choices. This was just a bizarre case that in Joliet, there was a mass murderer, and where's our mass murderer dude? Where's our mass murderer guy? Hold on a second. I'm trying to find him. I'm telling you, I wish they make the pictures a lot bigger. I'm going to have to talk to StreamYard about that. It's so annoying. Where's my guy? Okay, I'm going to... I'm going to go look for him over. Sometimes when I go to the spot where I actually get the picture of him, I can see. Oh, it's that guy. Let's see if he's here. Okay. If I can see in my little picture. Oh, there he is. Okay. This guy, his name is Romeo Nance, 23 years old. He's accused of killing 7 family members, and he shot 2 other people who were not family members, who were in another house, 2 other places. One of them died, and one of them went to the hospital. He shot 9 people, 7 of them relatives, in this mass murder and then spree murder. So a mass murder is in one place, and sometimes after people kill a whole bunch of people, they know they're going down, and they then go into spree mode. They can be very dangerous in spree mode, especially if they actually get out of the area. Like then they steal a car, they go to somebody's house, they shoot all those people, they steal their money, they keep going, and they can go across the nation and be extremely dangerous. This guy didn't get that far, but 2 really interesting things about this crime. Let me find it. Okay, so this guy, okay, I gotta find it. There we go. Okay, Joliet. Okay, so first thing is that he shoots all these people. He was actually in jail a year ago because he made bail in a road rage thing where he shot at another car. Now listen to this. Although a Will County judge had denied the reduction of a $100,000 bond on assault and weapons charges last year for a Joliet man, recently linked to the fatal shooting of 8 people, 7 in his family, the extra guy, someone identifying himself as his sister. Don't they know? So it's one of 2 things. It's either his sister, who is now dead because he shot her, because he shot his sisters, or it's his girlfriend. And wait to hear about the girlfriend. She came up with money to free him from jail. So on January 26th, he was taken, this is 2023, a whole year ago. He was taken to Will County Jail on a $100,000 bond warrant for his arrest, charges of aggravated discharge of a firearm, aggravated assault, aggravated unlawful use of a weapon, and reckless discharge of a firearm. It was linked to an incident. Let's see what is a non. Let's see. Hold on. Let me find out where the incident was. He fired at a gun in a direction of a Buick Enclave occupied by a woman. So anyway, the sister came and got him out of prison. The defense said, here's the defense. Oh, Nance. Okay, here's the guy. Romeo here. Romeo Nance looks like a nice enough fellow. Romeo Nance was the father of a 3-year-old child and was employed. Oh, that makes a difference. We should let you out because you know how to get people pregnant and you actually have a job. Okay. The motion also alleged that Nance was involved in a, quote, road rage incident, and he was chased by the Buick Enclave he was accused of shooting. So supposedly he's just protecting himself here, right? All right. Now, it also says last year he's been charged in 1 felony case and 2 misdemeanor cases. They're pending in court. How many times does this guy get arrested? And he's still wandering around. Then he was charged with a misdemeanor for allegedly obstructing a Joliet police officer from arresting him on January 26th by breaking away from and fleeing the officer during an arrest. He was also charged with possessing a Bersa 380 caliber handgun without a valid firearm owner's identification card. He was also accused of striking an inmate while he was in the jail. He was also charged with a felony after he allegedly damaged a glass portion of a cell door. He was also charged in October of 2019 with robbery and theft of cell phones, as well as unlawful possession of marijuana. He got probation. Well, now his whole family's dead. A guy that doesn't even probably know him is dead. Another guy shot. And let's see what his girlfriend did. Now, this is what amazes me. Let me find the girlfriend. Okay. The girlfriend, the one with a 3-year-old, right? Okay, let's see if I can find this. So, the girlfriend of a Joliet area murder suspect, well, it's not much of a suspect, he shot everybody, but and he's dead. He killed himself when the police closed in, so he's dead. She looked distraught and emotional as she appeared in court on Thursday morning. Joliet police said 21-year-old Kylie Cleveland Singleton made statements in an attempt to stop police from arresting her boyfriend, Romeo Nance, before he was found dead in Texas. So they first made contact with her when they were looking for his son, because he had a 3-year-old son, in the aftermath of the shootings. During the investigations, detectives were told the child might be with his mother and grandmother at a home in Plainfield. So they went to that home and they found the child as well as the child's mother. While she voluntarily went with the police for questioning about the shooting spree, detectives believe she made statements to prevent them from apprehending Nance and to obstruct the investigation. Your boyfriend just shot dead 8 people, including his entire family. Did you really want to ride into the sunset with him? What the heck? Why wouldn't you want the guy caught? I mean, at this point, you pretty much know, A, he's going to go to prison anyway. B, he's going to kill himself anyway. C, the police are going to shoot him dead. And even if he gets away, why would you want to be with a mass murderer, you idiot? So anyway, she has been charged with lying to the police, and she's going to be on electric monitoring. Now, one other thing that's quite amusing. Okay, let's see all the people that were killed. I wanted to think about there it is. Now, the road rage shooting, he had a lawyer for that named Jordan Keelian, and she was representing him in that. And she said, "This is completely shocking. I didn't see this coming. And even when I heard the news that there was some sort of incident on West Acres, I started contacting the family because I knew the family lived there. I contacted Romeo thinking he might be in danger. It was a good family. From what I understood, a tight-knit family that supported each other. It's so incredibly tragic." Apparently, you have no clue about the people you are representing. And you're worried about his safety? The dude is shooting people and he's got a long criminal record. I mean, what? You're lucky you're not dead with all the rest of those people. Unbelievable. It's like, are people just dumb? Are they just blinded? You got an attorney that doesn't seem to know crap. You got a girlfriend who seems to want to run away with a mass murderer. I don't care if he's the father of your kid. I wouldn't want my kid anywhere near that man. What the heck's wrong with all of you? And then, of course, it's not like he's never done anything bad. He's had all these, for this girlfriend, he's a thief. He's been shooting at people. He's got obviously has a violent nature, and yet she still wants to be with him. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable. So let's see. Going back to you here. Let's say, I'm just checking on some commentary here. Yeah, this is true. This is what happens when we're soft on crime. He shouldn't have been out walking the streets. Really, he shouldn't have been. How many times does a person have to commit a criminal act and not be considered a danger to the community? Over and over and over again. He should not have been able to get out of jail. He should have been there until he went to court, and he should have then gone on to prison. But they let him roll around. So there you go. Just one more. I'm looking at my time. I'll do one more thing here. It was a couple of just interesting ones. One is this is just amazing. This guy, see this little boy? The body of 5-year-old Justin Lee Turner was found in a camper days after his father and stepmother reported him missing. That's what they look like today. This case happened like 30 years ago. Now, hold on a second. Let me find it. Hold on. Gotta find it. Oh, okay. No, that's not it. Hold on. No, didn't mean to do that. Okay, hold on. Oh, here we go. 1989. A distraught father was filmed finding the body of his 5-year-old. This is 1989. That's a long time ago, 25 years ago. A South Carolina man who was seen crying on TV upon finding his dead son's body during a filming of a news broadcast has now been charged for the boy's killing. So this is what happened. The 5-year-old boy was found dead inside of a cabinet in his family's small camper, which at the time was parked near their home. After police and officers and community members launched an extensive search for him for 2 days, the father discovered the body. Now, I want to point this out, that a lot of times when people discover a body in their relative, the reason they discover it is because they're getting really dang tired of the search. This is absolutely true. I have a case one day I'll do. It was a case I went down to Texas to work on. And the father of this girl who, when she was missing, he was losing his mind. He's like, what? And he was getting annoyed. It's like, why does everybody keep looking for her? He's like, because it's your daughter and she's missing? But he was getting frustrated because he was done with the whole thing and he was ready to move on with his life. And then the stupid police investigation and the family and the neighbors just wouldn't stop looking for her. Get over it. Let's just forget about it. So one thing is they get annoyed. And the second thing is then they feel they better find the body because they're tired of the whole darn search because they want to not have to deal with it anymore. So daddy apparently finds the son in the trailer and he backs out of the trailer and he said, my son's in there. So it says here that now the cold case unit, they reopened it in 2021, but you got to wonder what the heck took this many years. Now it says here, sorry, that was a burp. Authorities alleged in the court documents released Wednesday that the boy was strangled with a ligature on or around the early morning hours of March 3rd. The official cause of death was strangulation, and a ligature suspected to be the murder weapon was found in the Turner's home. So now the camper's right outside. Theoretically, the boy could have run outside. Some teenager in the neighborhood could have killed him and stuffed him into the cabinet in the trailer since the parents weren't living in the trailer. It was next to the house. But the ligature was found in the home. Suspected to be the murder weapon. It was found in the Turner's home. It matched the ligature marks on the boy's body, and fibers on it were consistent with his shirt collar material. Investigators believe his body was hidden inside the camper a short time after his death, and they reported that the boy died near the last time he was seen alive. They had gone to the Turner's home in the afternoon when the child's parents told them their son never returned home from school. However, witnesses claimed that Justin Turner did not get on the bus to go to school that day and was marked absent from class. Parents are clearly lying because there's not just one person saying that they're lying. It's like there's evidence that the boy didn't go to school, so they're lying. He never got on that bus. He never got on that bus because he was dead inside the house, the sheriff said. I can't think of a more tragic, horrendous murder. I can think of something more tragic, that the parents were never arrested. The warrant for their arrest, the warrant for the Turner's arrest said that Megan Turner had claimed she did not see her son leave home that day to get on the bus like she normally did because she was taking a shower. She told law enforcement the boy was last seen alive early in the morning before he left, and they had argued. Oh, the old argument. Because you kill children over arguing, which actually some people do. She provided misinformation to investigators about her specific whereabouts on the morning of March 3rd, 1989, and provided inconsistent information about her activities. And they also looked at the inconsistencies about the filming when the father found his son. Rather than react to finding his son and personally checking for any indication of life whatsoever, as soon as he found his son, he just backed out and said, he's in there, my son is in there, somebody's hurt him. And earlier, a witness said they overheard the dad saying, asking the officers, what would happen if someone, potentially a family murderer, what would happen if someone, potentially a family member, had killed or harmed his son? When somebody starts asking you, is somebody that knows the kid, one of our family members, what would happen to him? Usually they're asking about themselves. They want to know what kind of penalty they're going to get. So they are now, take a look how old they are. Where's that picture again? Yeah, here they are. He's got oxygen now. I'm assuming they're in their 70s. And so they got away with it for 25, 30 years. They went on and lived their life, got rid of the kid, and lived their lives. I have no clue why the heck they weren't charged with that crime way back when. That's just somebody didn't do the job. That's pretty pitiful. So yeah, parents do get away with killing their kids, even when there's pretty good evidence that they did it. I've seen so many cases where somebody looks guilty and turns out they're not. That is also true. So you have to be careful. What I always point out, when you are profiling or investigating, if a person looks guilty, it doesn't mean they're guilty, but it does make them a person of interest and does mean you might have to look at them further. So you just have to understand that you can't ignore somebody who looks guilty or acts guilty, because a good portion of the time, the reason they're doing that is because they are guilty. So let's say 9 out of 10 times they are guilty, but the 1 out of 10, the person's just a weirdo. It's not just that should ever take them to a courtroom. That is something that folk tells you, let's look a little bit harder at them. You still have to get absolute evidence, solid circumstantial evidence, solid behavioral evidence, solid physical evidence, DNA evidence, fiber evidence, whatever you got to get, weapons, whatever. You have to, in the long run, get enough for probable cause, arrest, and conviction. So yes, it's true. Sometimes people look guilty as heck, even say guilty crap, and they're not guilty. But you might have to look at them a little harder just to be, that's what you have to do. That's that right. Is that what he said? Evidence, evidence, always evidence. Thank you, Sherlock Holmes. Absolutely. How could you strangle your 5-year-old? Well, the little bugger argued. This is the problem with psychopathy, is that you're thinking it from a point of view where you have empathy for the child, where you care, and you can't imagine hurting the child that you brought into the world. You couldn't imagine hurting any child. You can't imagine, you can't imagine doing something to a child where that child would suffer and lose his life. But that's because you're not a psychopath. Because you're a psychopath, you're like, what do I always say about psychopaths? You're either useful or you're in the way. And if you're in the way, I have no problem getting you out of the way, because you deserve it, you little bugger. You're annoying. That's the way they think. That's the way they think. And this is true. Kids do hide a lot. Yeah. Could it be positional asphyxia or a hiding place with little oxygen? Yes. Yes. And that's a good thing to point out. Yes, there's a lot of cases that are positional asphyxia, and some really weird ones. One of the ones, I may have to dig that up one day. I was working on a case where the parents truly believed that their son had been murdered and his body thrown in a dumpster. But when I reviewed the case and the photos, it was clearly positional asphyxiation. And but they didn't. It was such a hard thing for them to understand how he died. But he wasn't murdered. So people can end up in really strange situations where their oxygen goes away long enough. Oh, which reminds me, last one. This one, we've talked about a number of cases where people get into small places, like you're talking about a child getting into small places. Children die in refrigerators. They die in little places where they don't get enough oxygen, or they're just put in a position where they eventually basically cut off the blood to their brain, and they die. But this guy's body was found in a chimney. He's 43 years old. He went missing in 2023. And this happened in, where are we at here? Okay, the guy had schizophrenia. And so he had issues, but he disappeared, and they didn't know what happened to him. And he was finally found by a roommate at a home in the city of Macon, I guess it's Georgia, just 80 miles southeast of Atlanta. His body was stuck inside a chimney when it was discovered. They had to take the chimney apart to get him out. So I guess he's spelunking, and instead of a cave, he's using a chimney. But they don't know why he was in the chimney. It's like, well, nobody's ever going to know why he went in the chimney. But we have found that quite a few places people who are having psychotic issues, schizophrenia, or some kind of psychotic break, they tend to like to go into small places. And I can't, I'm not, there, you could come up with a million theories about why people like small places, like they're crawling back into the womb to feel safe. People are after them and they're hiding. God knows why they go in these weird places, but they do. The problem is once they get into the weird place, the small, tiny place, they either can't get back out and eventually die from one thing or the other. They suffocate eventually because they don't have enough oxygen, positional asphyxiation, starvation, just kind of all kinds of horrible possibilities. And then people say, well, they can't believe they're in the wall or they're in a chimney, and they believe somebody had to have done something to them, but it's actually not that unusual for people who are having some kind of psychotic issue, that they want to crawl into a very small place. I'm a claustrophobic. That's the last place I want to crawl into. But people do it. And it's always surprising because you just don't expect to find a body in these places. And the families usually have a hard time accepting that the person crawled in on their own and nobody put him there. Because now, mind you, it's not impossible that someone kills somebody and shoves them into a place where they don't think they'll be found. So, of course, if you find somebody in a small place, you have to determine whether they could get in there on their own, whether there's any evidence that they were dead before they went in, or any evidence that somebody forced them into that location. So that it requires an investigation, but children especially can get into these situations of positional asphyxiation. And this little boy could have crawled in there, but the simple fact that ligature marks around his neck, that kind of takes away that concept. Now, the only way, well, see, you still got people hiding bodies then. Sometimes kids strangle themselves on the cords from curtains and stuff. And that's really horrifying. But generally in those circumstances, people just call the police because their child has, had accidental death. But who knows? Some people might decide to hide the body because they don't want to be considered neglectful parents or whatever. So, yeah, it's just horrible, horrible things that can happen to people in general. It's just terrible. Let's see. Yes. Soot too. There's usually soot in a chimney unless you haven't used it in a million years. That's possible. Skeletons fall to the ground eventually. No need to go about destroying chimneys with dead people in them. Well, eventually. Well, I suppose at a certain point they just, if they're going to find the body, they just can't leave it there. They have got to remove the body from the chimney so they can do due diligence in determining what caused their death. So they can't just say, well, we'll come back in 50 years. Maybe I'll have a bullet in the skull. I can't do that. So they have to check it out. But you're right. Over a period of time. True. Okay. That's it. So I'm going to do the Jennifer Kessie case on Sunday. I'm looking forward to that. The dad has a book. I will send out either today, maybe, or tomorrow morning. I will send out the link to the show. And there is a book that's a $2.95 or something about his father. The father wrote the book. And I just bought it. Let me just show it to you. What I do with it. I don't know much about the book yet, so I'm going to find out about it when I read it. But it was cheap on Kindle, so that's nice. It's called The Aftermath of Jennifer Kessie. Aftermath of Jennifer Kessie's abduction. Go away. And that's by her dad. I think a lot of it is spiritual about, it says, it's the uncle that wrote this. Sorry, not the dad. An uncle's quest for understanding and inspiring life's lessons. So they say it's a beautiful book. Of course, I'm reading it for the purposes of, I don't know how much information there is on the internet that will tell me about the crime. I wonder if he's got more information. As much as information as I can get, I'm going to try. There's a 48-hour show on YouTube. And apparently the family did managed to sue the police after they failed to solve the case and actually get the case files, which I've never seen happen. So I am fascinated by that, because most of the time the case is open, the family can never access anything. And so now the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, they've taken over the local police. Still unsolved case, but I'm fascinated that parents were able to actually get that to happen. So I'm going to look into all of that. So it's going to be interesting. So I don't know, but it's a sad case that it reminds me a little bit of the newscaster that went missing. That's never been found. I did the whole show on it. I'm blanking. You know me, I can never remember all the names. I don't know if it's Orlando. I know I have to get into all the reading on it. And so somebody give me the name of the one I just did. Jody, thank you. Husentrut. Jody Husentrut. When she went missing many years ago, they've never found her body. And I've done a show on that. Kind of reminds me of that in the same way. They just both vanished and never been seen again. So I did the DA that disappeared by the river. I did a show on that. Look, put in Profiler Pat Brown and his name, and you'll find my show on him. I did that show. So anyway, gonna go eat my din. I know how to talk like a 3-year-old. and I will see you guys on Sunday again. If you're new to the channel and you'd like to be in the chat room with these wonderful people, and I tell you, it's really been great because I get to know, maybe not, I don't get to see people necessarily, but I get to know about them and learn about them. And it's nice to have a community. So if you want to be in the community, click on Patreon below and join. And again, that helps supporting an educational channel. But please just at least like and subscribe. Keep us going, or keep me going, because there's no other us. Unless I have multiple personalities. So anyway, bye everybody. Oh, you wouldn't know us if you saw us. Well, I have face blindness. Right. If I saw you last week, I probably wouldn't recognize you this week. It's just so sad. I really have a problem with that. So, well, I'm going to do that one later. So anyway, see you guys. I'll see you next time, and I'll see you on Sunday if you make it on Sunday. Bye.